Judge rushes to convict black police officer, but minutes later a shocking truth changes everything. Jake Olver sat in the courtroom, his hands cold and shaking. The judge stared at him, ready to send him to prison. Everyone believed he was guilty. They called him a killer. But then, something happened that no one expected. One shocking truth changed everything. What if the people who are supposed to protect justice are the ones who destroy it? Keep watching, because this story is about to take a shocking turn. Officer Jake Olver was sleeping when loud knocking on his door woke him up. He quickly reached for his gun. Being a police officer for many years made him always ready, even when sleeping. Before he could do anything, the door opened fast, and armed officers rushed inside. "Put your hands up," someone shouted. Jake did not move. His heart was beating fast. He knew these men. They were his fellow officers. "What is happening?" Jake asked. His voice was calm, but he was confused. Detective Carter, a man Jake had worked with for many years, stepped forward. His face looked serious, almost sad. "Jake Olver, you are under arrest for the murder of Miguel Torres." Jake felt dizzy. Miguel Torres? That name hit him like a shock. Torres was an informant in a big cartel case. Jake had helped protect him. And now they said he killed him? "You have the wrong person," Jake said, but the cold handcuffs locked around his wrists. His stomach felt tight as they pulled him out of his house. Outside, police cars flashed red and blue lights. Reporters crowded the street, holding cameras like weapons. "Corrupt cop kills witness," one reporter shouted. "Jake Olver betrayed the badge," another one yelled. Jake clenched his teeth. He wanted to argue, to fight, but he knew how this worked. If he spoke now, it could make things worse. The next morning, Jake sat in a cold room. The walls felt small, and the air smelled like sweat and old coffee. Across the table, Detective Carter and another officer, Ramirez, stared at him. "The evidence is strong, Jake," Carter said, pushing a folder across the table. A security camera recorded the murder. A tall black man in a hoodie shot Miguel Torres in an alley. Jake tightened his fists. "That doesn't prove anything." "How do you know that's me?" "You match the description," Ramirez said. "And someone saw you near the crime scene." Jake's jaw clenched. "That's not real evidence. That's just guessing." Carter leaned closer. "Judge Nick Adam is on your case. You know how he is. He won't believe you. If you don't talk, you will go to prison forever." Jake looked straight into Carter's eyes. "I'm not talking because I didn't do it. Someone set me up. And you know it." Carter's face grew darker. Before he could answer, the door opened. A woman in a black suit walked in. Her heels made sharp sounds on the floor. "Enough," she said. "I'm Lena Brooks, Jake's lawyer. This meeting is over." Lena took Jake out of the room and into a small cell. She looked at him carefully. "They want to destroy you," she said. "The media already thinks you are guilty, and Judge Adam won't be fair." Jake took a deep breath. "I need you to prove I didn't do this." Lena crossed her arms. "That video is weak. The suspect's face isn't clear. A hoodie is easy to find, but the police will say it is strong proof. I need to look deeper. Tell me everything about Miguel Torres." Jake thought fast. Torres was scared. He was going to testify against the cartel. But he told me something felt wrong. He wanted more protection. Before I could help, he disappeared. Now he is dead. Lena nodded. If Torres was afraid, maybe he knew someone in the police was helping the cartel. If that is true, they wanted him dead, and they needed someone to blame. Jake's chest felt tight. "And they picked me." Lena's eyes were sharp. "Yes, but we won't let them win. We will fight back." Jake felt the weight of the situation. Everyone thought he was guilty. His own police department had turned against him. The only person helping him was a lawyer who refused to give up. And Jake knew one thing for sure: whoever framed him was not finished yet. The courtroom was full of tension. Reporters filled the seats, ready to write every word. Jake sat at the defense table. His wrists still hurt from the tight handcuffs. The air smelled old, like paper and sweat. Every whisper felt like a knife in his back. Judge Nick Adam walked in. His black robe moved as he sat down. He looked at Jake with cold eyes. "Let's begin. How do you plead?" Jake stood up. His voice was strong. "Not guilty." Assistant District Attorney Richard Holt smiled as he fixed his tie. "The prosecution is ready, Your Honor." We have strong evidence. This is an easy case. Lena stood up too. Her eyes were sharp. Your Honor, we need time to check case files about the cartel. This information could help my client. Judge Adam did not even look at her. Request denied. That information is not important. The trial starts now. Jake clenched his fists under the table. This was not fair. It was too fast, too planned. They wanted him in prison before the truth came out. Lena did not give up. Then I asked for Miguel Torres's full autopsy report. We need to know how he died. Holt laughed a little. That report is missing. A simple mistake with the paperwork. Jake's heart beat faster. A mistake? Or was someone hiding the truth? Judge Adam nodded. Then we will use the evidence we have. Call the first witness. The bailiff opened the door. Officer Brian Dunham walked in. Jake's stomach turned. Dunham, a man he had worked with, a man he once trusted. But Jake knew the truth. Dunham was working for the cartel. Dunham took the stand and put his hand on the Bible. After he swore to tell the truth, Holt walked closer, looking confident. Officer Dunham, did you see the defendant on the night of Miguel Torres's murder? Dunham nodded. Yes, I saw him near Miguel's apartment. It was late, after midnight. I thought it was strange, but now it makes sense. Jake's jaw tightened. Lies. Every word was a lie. Lena stood up. Officer Dunham, did you see my client inside Miguel Torres's apartment? Dunham hesitated for a second. No, not inside, but he was very close. So you were guessing, Lena said. You don't have proof that Jake was there to do something bad. I know what I saw, Dunham said firmly. Lena crossed her arms. Do you have any video? A recording? Anything besides your words? Holt cleared his throat. Officer Dunham's statement is enough. And we have a security video. It shows a tall black man in a hoodie leaving the crime scene. That should be enough. Lena took a deep breath and turned to the judge. Your Honor, I object. There is no forensic evidence. No murder weapon. No real proof. And now, an important report is missing. How can we have a fair trial without all the facts? Judge Adams' face showed no emotion. Objection denied. The case moves forward. Jake's nails pressed into the table. It did not matter what Lena said. The judge had already decided. That evening, Lena sat with Jake in a small, dark holding cell. A light flickered overhead, making long shadows on the wall. She tapped her pen on the table, thinking hard. Something is wrong, Jake. This trial is too fast. The missing autopsy report, the blocked case files, Dunham's words, it all fits too well. Jake let out a slow breath. They want me in prison before the truth comes out. Someone inside the system is helping them. Lena leaned closer. I need that autopsy report. If Miguel died in a different way than the prosecution says, it could change everything. Jake rubbed his temples. Do you think the cartel is controlling Dunham? Lena nodded. If Dunham is dirty, he will do whatever they tell him. And if we don't find proof soon, you will go to prison for life. Silence filled the room. For the first time since his arrest, Jake felt the full weight of the situation. If they lost this fight, his life was over. The real criminals would go free. Lena reached in her bag and pulled out a small notebook. I will keep looking. I have friends who can help. There must be something we missed. Jake looked at her. If they find out you are investigating, you will be in danger too. Lena gave a small smile, but there was no humor in it. Then I will be careful. She stood up, ready to leave. Jake's heart pounded. She was his last hope, but if they didn't find the truth soon, he would never be free again. Lena sat in her office. The case was heavy on her mind. The trial was moving too fast. Important evidence was missing, and Jake was running out of time. She had to find something, anything, to prove he was innocent. Her phone rang. It was her investigator, Terry Vaughn. Lena, I just got some news. A homeless man near the crime scene says he saw Miguel Torres alive after the day of the murder. Lena's heart beat fast. Are you sure? Yes. He even remembers Miguel's clothes. We need to talk to him before he disappears. Lena grabbed her coat and ran out the door. A few minutes later, she met Terry in a dark alley. A thin, homeless man with tired eyes sat against a brick wall. You saw Miguel after the police said he was murdered? Lena asked gently. He nodded. I ain't lying. He looked scared. Said someone was after him. But he was alive. I swear. Lena looked at Terry. This changed everything. The next morning, Lena went to the coroner's office. The receptionist barely looked at her. "I need Miguel Torres's autopsy report," Lena said firmly. The woman sighed. "That file is missing." Lena reached in her bag and pulled out an envelope. She slid it across the counter. The receptionist looked around, then took the money and walked into the back. A minute later, she returned with a thin file. Lena opened it and held her breath. Miguel Torres had never been processed. There was no real autopsy, no proof that he was dead. Her hands shook. She whispered, "Miguel isn't dead." She rushed back to her office and slammed the door shut. She spread the documents across her desk, reading every word. Something was wrong. If Miguel wasn't dead, why was the prosecution pushing the case so hard? Why was Jake being framed? Terry ran into the room, breathing fast. "Lena, I found something else. Judge Adam has ties to the cartel. He helped them win cases at least 5 times in the last 2 years." Lena's stomach twisted. Of course. This isn't just about Jake. The judge is protecting someone, and he's letting an innocent man take the blame. Back in court, Lena sat at the defense table, thinking fast. If Miguel was alive, then someone had faked his murder. Someone had framed Jake. She looked at Judge Nick Adam. His face was cold as always. But now, she had a reason to believe he wasn't just unfair. He was part of the crime. Lena spent hours studying past cases. A pattern appeared. Judge Adam had helped cartel-linked people many times. He had thrown out evidence, stopped appeals, and let criminals walk free. Her hands curled into fists. He was protecting the cartel, and he was making sure Jake stayed in prison. The next day, Lena stood in the courtroom. Her voice was strong. "Your Honor, I request all records on Miguel Torres. We have reason to believe he is still alive." Judge Adams' face darkened. "Denied. This court will not listen to wild ideas." Lena did not back down. "Then why is his autopsy report missing? Why do people say they saw him alive? This case is full of lies." The judge hit his gavel hard. "Enough, Ms. Brooks. Sit down." The prosecutor smiled. Jake felt sick. Every time Lena got close to the truth, the judge shut her down. After court, Lena and Terry met in the parking garage. "We need to find Miguel. Fast," Lena said, looking around. "If the cartel knows we're searching for him, they will try to kill him for real." Terry nodded. "I have some sources. If he's hiding, we'll find him. But we have to be careful." That night, Jake sat on a cold bench in his cell. He stared at the ceiling. He had believed in the law. He had trusted the system. But now he knew the truth. When the people in power were corrupt, the law didn't matter. Footsteps echoed in the hallway. A guard stopped at his cell. "Visitor." Lena walked in, her face tense. "Jake, listen to me. Miguel is alive. The judge is protecting the cartel. And they're doing everything to keep you locked up." Jake closed his eyes. He had almost lost hope. But now, a small spark lit inside him. "What do we do?" he asked. Lena's voice was firm. "We fight. We expose them. And we find Miguel before they do." Jake nodded. He would not give up. Not yet. A few hours later, Lena and Terry sat in a small, dark diner. Terry scrolled through his phone, reading messages. "I have a lead," he said. "A contact says Miguel was seen near the docks 2 nights ago. If he's trying to leave the city, that's where we should start." Lena leaned forward. "Then we go now. If we wait, we might lose him." Terry hesitated. "You know this is dangerous, right? If the cartel finds out we are looking for him, we could be next." Lena took a deep breath. "We don't have a choice. Jake's life depends on this." They left the diner. Lena felt the weight of the case on her shoulders. Time was running out. If they didn't find Miguel soon, Jake might never be free again. Lena held the steering wheel tight as she and Terry drove fast through the dark streets. City lights flashed by, but her mind focused on one thing: finding Miguel. Every second mattered. If they didn't find him first, the cartel would. Terry looked at his phone, reading messages from his contacts. "We're close. Miguel's girlfriend, Sophia, agreed to meet us. She says she knows everything." Lena nodded, her face serious. "If she's telling the truth, we will finally have proof." A few minutes later, they stopped in a small motel parking lot. The air smelled like wet concrete. Lena saw a nervous woman sitting on the sidewalk. "Sophia." Her hands shook as she looked around, scared. Lena got out of the car and walked toward her. Sophia? It's okay. We are here to help. Sophia's eyes filled with tears. Miguel is alive, but he is in danger. The cartel took him. They made it look like he was dead so they could blame Jake. Dirty cops are hiding him in a safe house. If you don't get him out, they will kill him for real. Lena's heart pounded. This was the truth they needed. Terry leaned forward. Where is the safe house? Sophia wiped her tears. It's an old factory near the docks. You have to hurry. They don't keep prisoners alive for long. Lena looked at Terry. We go now. The factory was dark and quiet. A single light flickered near the entrance. Lena crouched behind some crates, her heart racing. Terry was beside her, his gun ready. We going fast, Terry whispered. No waiting. Lena nodded. Let's move. They slipped inside. The air smelled like rust and oil. Footsteps echoed down the hall. Two men stood near a locked door. Miguel had to be inside. Terry took the first shot, hitting one guard. The second guard turned, reaching for his gun. But Lena was quicker. She fired. He fell. Lena ran to the door and kicked it open. Miguel sat on the floor, bruised and weak. His eyes widened. You came. We are getting you out, Lena said, helping him stand. Gunshots exploded outside. The cartel wouldn't let them escape easily. Terry shot back, but a bullet hit his shoulder. He groaned and fell against the wall. Terry. Lena grabbed him. I'm okay, he said, breathing hard. Just get Miguel to the car. Lena half-carried Miguel, her heart pounding. More bullets flew past them. They ran through the door and toward the car. Terry followed, blood dripping from his arm. They barely made it. Lena stepped on the gas. The factory disappeared behind them, but the danger wasn't over. Miguel sat in the back seat, breathing heavily. They were going to kill me tonight. Lena looked at him in the mirror. Not anymore. But we need your help. You must tell the court everything. Miguel swallowed hard. If I talk, they will come after me. Not if we move fast, Lena said firmly. We are calling an emergency court hearing. Tonight. The courtroom was silent. Judge Adams sat at the bench, his face blank. Lena stood tall, her hands steady. Your Honor, we have new evidence. Miguel Torres is alive. He will testify. Gasps filled the room. The prosecution looked nervous. Judge Adams' face turned pale, but he quickly hid it. That's a big claim, he said. Where is your witness? The doors opened. Miguel walked in, surrounded by officers. He stepped onto the witness stand, his voice shaky but strong. I was kidnapped by cartel members and dirty cops. They faked my murder to blame Jake Olver. Judge Adam has been protecting them. The room went silent. Then chaos broke out. Reporters ran to write down every word. The prosecution tried to object, but they had nothing to say. The truth was out. Judge Adams' jaw tightened. This hearing is over. No, Your Honor, Lena said. You are finished. Officers stepped forward. The courtroom watched as Judge Adam was led away in handcuffs. For the first time, Jake saw real justice. Lena turned to him and smiled. You're free. Jake let out a deep breath. Thank you. The fight was over. But the scars would stay. For now, Jake was finally going home. Jake stepped out of the courthouse. The cold night air hit his face. Cameras flashed. Reporters shouted questions. But he barely heard them. He was free. After everything, he was finally free. Lena walked beside him, looking tired. Terry leaned against a car, his arm in a sling. Miguel stood nearby, his face still showing the pain of what he had been through. They had won. But the cost was high. How do you feel? Lena asked. Jake took a deep breath. Strange. Like I was holding my breath for weeks. Now I can breathe again. Terry smirked. Don't relax too much. The real fight starts now. Jake nodded. He knew what Terry meant. The cartel was still out there. Dirty cops were still hiding. Judge Adams' arrest was only the start. We told part of the truth, Lena said. But the people behind this, they won't stop. They will fight back. Jake clenched his fists. Then we make sure they don't win.